Hi, welcome. This is another edition of that Millwall podcast. This is episode 41. Joining me tonight is the one and only Kai. Good evening.
Good evening, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad, not too bad. And we've got a special guest on tonight, the one and only Merv Payne. Good evening, Merv.
Hello, Mick. Hello, Kai.
Hello, mate. Good to have you.
Right. It was one of those games last night where it was probably not even a game of two halves. So what we do is we're going to talk transfer window, your thoughts on that or the lack of that. We'll talk about last night's game and we'll talk about Rowett as well. And Kai's got some other questions and we'll see where we go. So look, we'll be straight back after this where we're kicking to part one. Welcome back. This is part one of that Millwall podcast, episode 41. We'll start with you then, Merv. Transfer window or lack of transfer window for us. What's your thoughts on January's transfer window?
I'm not surprised, to be honest. I mean, the January window's sort of famously crap anyway at the best of times. You know, teams are sort of scared of spending money. And I mean, it's apart from the usual team sort of spending silly amounts and stuff like that. You know, to get a couple of loans, I think is no real surprise. And I mean, there was all sorts of rumours about us getting Ikpiatsu and what was the other rumour? Oh, Hugill, wasn't it? Who both ended up going to Cardiff, and Cardiff then lost Kiefer Moore. But when you look at what's going on in the Championship, I think the weirdest signing was. Oh God, what's he got? The guy from Norwich who went to Bournemouth. Yeah, that's what we're sort of competing with. This is a bloke who Man City were interested in not so long ago. Cantwell, that's it. And suddenly Bournemouth are snapping him up. And God knows what they're paying him in wages. And I know fans are probably sick of us saying, "Oh, we can't compete money-wise," but I just think there is some sort of silly sort of fees being spent. And I think the position we're in, I think the playoffs are probably out of the question, barring a nice little run like we did a few years ago. We're not going to go down, and I just think there was probably no need to go too mad anyway. I don't know. I'm sitting on the fence a little bit, but I just wasn't surprised. You know, a disappointing transfer window is part of being a Millwall supporter, to be honest. I think I can't get myself too worked up about it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I think I think it's good that we got rid of a lot of deadwood.
Yeah, definitely.
We cleared the wage bill to a degree, which is probably being spent on the players that will come in. But
yeah,
no, Kai, what's your view before I give you my view?
My view is that I think obviously, as most said, we probably all expected a little bit, maybe a little, a lot of fans expected a little bit busier of a transfer window. The only thing that does concern me is that the fact that I think there's about 6, 7 or 8 attackers that are due to go in the summer, if you include Benikofobi, Shea Ojo, Ollie Burke, and obviously Freeman, as well as Jed, Mahoney, and the rest of them. So that does concern me. I think the only strikers we've got now, like tied down now, are Bennett, and if you call him a striker, probably more of an attacking midfielder / striker, and obviously Bradshaw. So I don't think I'm missing anyone. So I think the summers, there's definitely going to be a big sort of overturn in the attacking department because it's going to need to be, especially if Jed goes and Mahoney goes. And obviously it'd be nice if we can get maybe Benikofobi back, Shea Ojo back, and obviously see how Ollie Burke and Freeman do in the next couple of weeks. But, it would have been very nice to sort of do a little bit now. So we did have to do less in the summer. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But that's the only thing I would maybe say.
No, I agree. And I think my only thoughts is that I think possibly the board didn't necessarily support him massively in this window. I think they wanted to get rid of all the wage bill. And I think the one thing that was obvious was that you could see that to a degree because Rowett's come out in the papers telling you what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. He wants young, attacking, pace people. And then all of a sudden we bring in a 29-year-old, and didn't even come in on transfer day, come after transfer day. Okay, we've got Burke. And to be fair, he does look, I reckon, once he's had a few more games under his belt and he settles in, his pace will be frightening quick for the Championship. I think, as long as he can find his form, I think his pace is going to be really, really good. But, as transfer windows go, I'm just, which we'll come on to a bit later on, I just wonder if, they really wanted some big signings in with money just in case Rowett's contract doesn't get renewed at the end of the season, just so they haven't got what they had with Budvarsson and etc. sitting there on the wage bill. Sad to see Ben Thompson go. I think Ben Thompson is one of our own, and I think various managers just never gave him enough run of consistency in games. I think if someone had given him 20 games, on the bounce, I think he would have been a better player. But hey ho, we are there. Go on, Merv.
Yeah, I think what we've seen with Rowett is, and I think without using that excuse, I think obviously COVID interrupted this, but I think what we've seen in this transfer window perhaps is Rowett's assessment of what he inherited, the Harris signings. He obviously was desperate to get rid of Budvarsson, and I think it's clear he never rated Thompson. I don't think he rates Mahoney. I think he likes Bradshaw, and I've always thought Bradshaw, as long as you play him in a 2, is going to score goals for you, definitely. But yeah, I think this is Rowett's assessment of what he's inherited, and I think if you could get him on here, for example, he would, in his defence, he would say, well, I arrived at the club quite suddenly, and it was just a couple of months after Harris had brought in these players like Smith and Budvarsson and Mahoney. So he was sort of lumbered with him in a way. Whether or not it suits his style of play, I think that's another debate, really, the Rowett style of play. But you've got to give any manager the opportunity to bring in their own players. And as we know with Millwall's budget, and especially as it's been affected by COVID, losing I think it's 30 million quid I think we've lost, that's going to take a bit longer than it would normally. So, I think that what we've seen is Rowett's first real opportunity to sort of sort out the players he wants and get rid of the players he inherited that he doesn't rate. And it's just going to be a slow process, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think you probably nailed it on the head. I think probably it speaks that maybe Smith was on fairly big wages to go on a free, but Vardson obviously is a loan, I think, isn't it? But it's
it's a free. That's a free transfer. It
was a free. It was a free. So to get rid of those potentially, if you believe the rumours that Budvarsson was on good money. Which I never really believe those figures will come out, but if you do believe that, potentially there's 2 players off what realistically could be on fairly good money, and then get rid of some more. There's rumours what have been floating around since we were doing Friday Night Live, 18 months ago during the first lockdown, that Rowett and Thompson had fallen out and didn't see eye to eye. So potentially, if that's been ongoing, and it's not the only rumour, there seems to be, various rumours. There was a WhatsApp chat gone round the other day talking about, how Rowett is towards the players, and a lot of players feeling unease and all of that lot. So I think, to be fair, they probably didn't need to do loads of signings. I think maybe they need to work on building the team what's there. But, I think that's probably a harder battle than what it is, really. I think I agree with you on your first comment. January transfer windows ain't that good as a whole for Millwall or for most teams. Just hope that whatever happens, we keep hold of some of the players we've got, because most of them have got contracts up at the end of the season, and see where we go. But yeah, let's go to last night's game then. What's your views on last night's game then, Merv?
Well, I wasn't there, but obviously you could tell from all the various comments of people who were, and from Paul Merson, that obviously it was a pretty poor game, even by sort of recent standards. But I think there was a lot of frustration as well that we seem to back up these decent wins. We get a good win, like Birmingham. We beat Birmingham back in December, for example, and you think, right, we're on our way now, and then we back it up with another sort of a poor performance. But like I say, I think a lot of it boils down to the system that they're playing. which again is a huge separate debate, really. But yeah, I mean, so I was at Blackpool a couple of weeks ago, and you know, the only way to describe it is uninspiring. I mean, I saw loads of comments from Blackpool fans and Millwall fans saying like, how quiet we were there, and we had a good following there. I think about 900 fans there, and it doesn't, the way they play doesn't get the fans going, you know. And I think the Preston manager last night described it as a perfect away performance, which suggests he was happy with a 0-0. And we're sort of parking the bus, and it was up to us to sort of break them down. And as we know, we just can't do that, which is probably what contributed to such a boring game. But yeah, I mean, it's the system, the way we're playing, I think, is the real bone of contention at the moment.
What system do you think we should be playing? Do we think we should be playing, like a 3 at the back or a 4 at the back or more attacking?
Well, take the Blackpool game as an example. I mean, Blackpool were very average. They, you know, apart from their two key players, and that was their two wide players. They've got Hamilton, I think it's on the left, and they got Bowler on the right. And what they did was every time Blackpool had the ball in their half, they just looked for those two players, and they were hanging out wide on the right or left. You know, they were hugging the touchline, waiting for the ball, and we attacked, or we sort of attempted to get in the Blackpool half. Blackpool dispossessed us quite easily, and straight away they were looking for Bowler or Richardson, and it was no surprise that, you know, Blackpool's first chance came from Bowler and their goal came from Richardson. And it's, I mean, I used to work with a Chelsea fan when I was a teenager. I used to do a part-time job at Sainsbury's in the warehouse, and there was a Chelsea fan there who was in his 40s, and he would cut down any football debate with the same comment, and it was that football was the simplest game in the world. And it used to do my head in, but he's got a point. I mean, football is very simple. I think it's overcomplicated by tactics and systems and formations. And if you think about any successful Millwall team, or any successful team full stop, apart from maybe the Man Cities of this world, they've had quick, wide players. You know, you think the Paul Eiffels, the Jimmy Carters, you know, Kevin O'Callaghan's, players like that, even Hackett under Kenny Jackett, you know, they're wide players with pace. You get the ball to them, and not only do they create chances, but they get the fans going as well. And I remember Jimmy Carter saying he felt a great responsibility when he was playing for Millwall. That when he got the ball, the fans, there was a visible or an audible sort of buzz in the fans. They thought something special was going to happen, and he felt he had to sort of deliver that. But at Blackpool, I mean, it was really, really, really hard to watch. You know, Bart would roll it out to one defender, he'd turn around and pass it to another. He'd turn around, we'd look for a pass forward. No one seemed to want it, so we'd turn around and pass it square again. Then we'd finally try and get forward, and Afobe was so far away from this play. You know, he obviously desperate for some service, wasn't getting it. And then we'd try and go over the halfway line. Blackpool would take it off us, and that would be it. And it's really, really hard to watch, and it's hard to understand why, when we got a player like Bury, for example, why we're not being just more attacking. I mean, whatever formation it is, I think it's more the attitude. It's more what the players are being told. I mean, I know Mitchell's getting a lot of stick now. So I saw an interesting comment saying he's basically turned into Ryan Woods like last year, where he's scared to go forward with the ball. But
yeah, I saw that comment.
Yeah, these players are being told to play that way. You know, I remember there's a classic. I think a fan had a go at Morrison one year, telling him to do something, and he actually come out and said, well, at the end of the day, the manager's told us to play a certain way for a reason, and you do that, you know, and you know, that's, whether we like it or not, that's the way these players are being told to play, and unfortunately I think it's turning good players, or potentially good players, into boring players, or, you know, a boring sort of football. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what, I'm not one for, it's sort of, I cringe a little bit when I see supporters discussing tactics in detail and talking about false nines and false tens and this formation when you've got the ball, that formation you haven't got the ball. So I hark back to that bloody Chelsea fan and saying, you know, football is simple. And I think what any defender hates is someone who's got pace. He hates people running at him. And we saw with us when especially Bowler got the ball for Blackpool, our defence was terrified, you know. And yet when we brought Bury on, he had the same effect on the Blackpool. And suddenly I thought, shit, we've got a bleeding game on here. But because we were chasing the game by then. We were 1-0 down.
Yeah.
It was easy for them to put. They could just pack the defence, put 2 players on it. But the minute you got the ball, their defence is thinking, bloody hell, we've got a job on here. But before that, we were just strolling around, and they thought, well, this is easy. We'll just wait for them to try and cross the halfway line. We'll take it off them. We'll pick their pockets. And,
no, that's it. That's
frustrating. Really frustrating.
Kai coming in.
Yeah, you'll come taking over.
Coming in, Kai. Tell us. You were there last night. You were there last night in the press box. I mean, I watched it last night as well, and I'll give you my opinion in a minute. But Kai, what was your overall opinion? I know we've got your match report on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen it or you want to listen to it. But what was your overall last night, fella?
Disappointing, frustrating. First half was a bit of a non-event, if I'm being honest. So I don't really remember much that happened. I couldn't tell you anything that happened in the first half. It sort of went quite quickly. You kept looking up at the board thinking, God, there's 40 minutes gone here. And I don't think either team's actually done anything here. Probably the most noticeable thing of the first half was Keith absolutely thunderbiting one. Yeah. I think it was going in. So, no, that was a good strike. Keith had 2 shots, I think, last night. No, but I thought he hit them well, and probably that was the only real tackle effort on goal, really. Apart from that, both teams seemed pretty, they just kept giving the ball away. Preston kept passing it straight to us or losing it to us, and we did the same for them. It was it was a really poor game in terms of standard wise. I thought both teams were pretty poor. Second half, I thought it improved for the first maybe 10 minutes of the game. I thought we looked more lively. Jed came on. Obviously, they missed a penalty. I think Bart would have got there by the looks of it, by the looks of the replay. I think Bart, if it would have been on the other side of the post, I think Bart would have got there anyway. But that was probably the only talking point of the game, the penalty. Other than that, I don't really... I mean, Benik had a couple of times where he runs through on goal. If he touches a little bit better, he probably scores. But other than that, there wasn't much else.
What last night proved, and, that was definitely a penalty. I mean, you can't, pulling the shirt, Hutchinson, silly mistake. Frustration probably got the better of him there. But what you've got to ask yourself is the thing what was missing last night was we had no proven striker. Afobe was there on his own. He couldn't really, he kept running for stuff, but he just didn't necessarily have the pace last night. The balls were a bit long. Some of the shots were, massively long. I mean, who was it who passed back? Was that Cooper? Was it? No, it weren't Cooper, was it? It was Murray Wallace, wasn't it, who passed back and fucking the ball went out of play for a corner. And you're thinking, whether or not the pitch was very fast, I don't know whether or not they didn't water it enough or didn't do anything with it tactically like that. But the pitch seemed very fast. Kicks, passes what were going in seemed to be very, very quick. And some of them couldn't get on the back of them. And I just think it proves what we said plenty of times before. We need a proven goal scorer who can score 20 goals a season. Because if Afobe was up there with, 2 up there or maybe playing in a part of a 3, you'd have had more people possibly what we're going to do. And they just, we need proven strikers. And again, we haven't got them. Hopefully, with Burke and Freeman, they're forward attacking players as such. Hopefully, they will give us a bit of a dimension. But at the moment, it was as if we were zeroing out. We basically were blocking Preston, and Preston were blocking us, which made for a very boring game. I don't think the Preston keeper really had a save, apart from obviously maybe Keith's shot, what he got a hand to, I think. But other than that, I think Bart was diving more than the Preston keeper. Kai?
Yeah, no, he did make he made a good save in the first half off Emil Rees. He got down low to his right. But no, I think it was just weird game. Like, it just went so quickly, and there wasn't actual. I think the fact that the ref only added on 3 minutes of stoppage time clearly showed that I don't think anyone wanted the game to go on any longer than it did. I think it was a pretty hard watch. I thought second half when Jed came on and Bury came on, there was a lot more excitement, and I thought Bury looked good. Dan Marsh put a good tweet out last night. It says something like, when Bury comes off on it, when he gets the ball, there's a real sense of excitement because he doesn't know what he's going to do with it, but either do we. But the fact that he's running at players and he's exciting the crowd, that's what we need. We need a player like Bury to come on, run with it, and take players on. And I think that's what he does. So that
I don't think it was necessarily Rowett's tactics yesterday. I think the players just didn't look as if they wanted to really, do a lot. And I think maybe if you blame him, I think maybe the subs should have come on earlier so that we had a bit of pace to run at people. And then I think maybe that would have livened up the game a bit. But I don't know, the players just look no passion, tired. They don't, they just don't look great. I mean, I don't know what's going on at the training. You've seen bits and pieces of videos where they're saying they don't have food at the training ground. The food's being brought over. Are they training at the training ground? Are they training at the den? What's going on? What's happening? But they don't seem to be. I don't know. To me, I don't agree with this thing of where you get players going, "Oh, we don't," we're turning against the manager. Well, the only people you're spiting are yourselves and us what pay the tickets. If you don't like the manager, okay, fair enough, you don't like the manager. But go out there and play the game how you want to play it. If you think that his tactics, what he's giving you before the game, are complete dog shit, then go out there and play. 11 fellas on a pitch. I could pick 11 fellas on a pitch and make sure that, they're in the positions what they want to be in. And off we go. I mean, when we done the Wonderwall Cup, we had 11 ex-players and everything else. We didn't really do any managerial tactics. We didn't get out of board and go, right, we want you to go here, there. We just went, boys, the task is win the game. And they were playing. We had ex-players playing against the F2 boys. And they went out and fucking done a game. We're talking, TV stars and movie stars, Tamil Hussein and all that, old stars and whatnot, but old players, Mark Beards, Alex Ray, etc., who will go out and just play football. They know what they need to do, and they win, and they score goals. Why you can't have modern day footballers doing the same? Why they need to be tactical analysis of the ins and outs of a duck's arse? It's quite easy. That fucking bit of round leather in the middle of the pitch needs to go in their goal. Now fucking go do it. How hard is it?
Yeah. The problem
it's not hard, is it?
Yeah, I think the problem is, Mick, footballers are a cynical bunch, aren't they? And what I think, if you could get some of them in front of you now and say that to them, saying, if you don't agree what Rowett's tending to do, then do it differently. I think what they come back at you with is say, well, what he'll do is he'll drop me and he'll put someone else in the, and that's it. And they'll say, at the end of the day, they'll say, look, this is my livelihood. I need to pay my mortgage or whatever. So I'll do what the manager says. And that's it, and that's all we can do. But you do get the feeling, and I'm a great believer in, clubs will always say, oh no, the dressing room's fine, he hasn't lost the dressing room, the players are right behind the manager, the spirit's great, blah blah blah. But you get a sense, and I got this sense at Blackpool, and it was the same under Holloway, but not a lot stronger then. You just get a sense that the players aren't particularly in agreement with how he wants to play, but they're thinking, well, it's our job. We're contracted to the club. I want to keep my place in the team. I'll do it, and they're perhaps going through the motions. But I mean, the players must be bored playing like this, surely. But for me, the telling thing is, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but when we lost 2-0 home to Luton a few months back, Jed was quoted as praising Nathan Jones and the way he plays football, and I think he even went as far as saying it would be great to play for him. And I think a few people picked up on that and thought, what? Is he saying he'd love to play for Nathan? And like I say, you can perhaps read too much into that, but, a player like Jed, who's so creative, creative players don't want to be stifled, and you get the feeling, and we might come on to it later, but I felt this with George Evans at Blackpool, that players are having to play a certain way. Again, Billy Mitchell, when he first broke into the side, he looked a fantastic player, he looked really like he was confident enough to go forward. Suddenly, he's been called the new, he's been told, people are slagging him off saying, he doesn't go forward enough. And you think, well, he's clearly been told to do this. And I sort of, for the first time, I sort of got involved in the Rowett out debate after the Blackpool game. I wasn't advocating getting rid of the manager, but just saying that the tactics he's playing, aren't going to work. He's got to change his tactics, otherwise we'll be changing the manager, because I don't think the players are happy.
No, I'm
sure they're not.
No, I fully agree. I mean, Kai, we've spoken about this before plenty of time. I think personally that there's some big characters in that team. You've got Jed, who's had transfer rumours for the last month or so, and he's, whether or not he's been really injured or it's an alleged injury, or whether or not he's been, you're not going to play till the transfer window shuts, or whatever it is. But I think that, looking at that tweet what come around the other day, or the WhatsApp message what come around, I'm not going to read it out. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If not, ask a friend, because I'm not going to read out stuff what we don't know whether or not it's all true or not, but it's okay talking about it in theory, is that there were 4 or 5 players named in there what don't necessarily think. It goes back to the long term of what we've said for months on this show, is that what I've said and Kai and Omar have agreed with is I don't think Gary Rowett is a people's manager. I think his man management skills, I don't think are there. I think his tactical skills and knowing football inside out, head and shoulders there. Absolutely. Can't fault the fella on it. But there's a difference between being really good at football management and being really good at people management. Hence why I think we kept Pearce on. I mean, why would you keep a player like Pearce on? Old, not really got the legs, not really got the pace, but you're keeping him on because he's great in the dressing room. Well, definitely. There's loads of speculation about it. There's speculation that, Barrett might be going. There's speculation around there. There's speculation about this, that, and everything else, depending where you want to believe and what you want to believe. But I think it's simple. I think Rowett isn't a people's person. You look at that post again, go back to that where people say all he does is comes in and out and says hello, goodbye, doesn't really talk to people. Well, I'm not being funny, but if I worked for someone who didn't really speak to me, didn't give me the time of day, just a hello, goodbye, I'd be pissed. I wouldn't be wanting to work my nuts off for him. There we go. I don't know, Kai. Well, go on, Merv. Go on.
I don't want to hog it. Just going to touch on the fact someone put the video of Neil Harris. Excuse me, Neil Harris after the Gillingham game last night. He's won his first game in charge, and the Gillingham fans sort of cheering him and someone said they missed that passion. There's been a lot of to and froing on Twitter at least. Some people saying we should get Harris back, and some people laughing that off, and I don't think we should. But people are saying what we're lacking is that connection that Harris had. He sort of connected the fans and the team, and obviously you get that with an ex-player. But we've had it with managers that haven't been ex-players. I think I made this point on Twitter earlier. People like John Docherty and Kenny Jackett manage to have that where it gives the team a bit of energy when they feel connected to it. But then you get your other managers for whom it's just another job. And I like Gary Rowett. I rate him as a manager, but I think he sees this as just another job. And if he was to walk in the summer, his attitude would probably be, well, I've got on my CV, I've got 3 seasons of keeping Millwall in the Championship, and 2 of them, maybe all 3 of them, in the top half, which looks good because of the resources they've got. I think it's just he probably is a bit of a cold fish, and that probably only gets you so far. Maybe that's what's wearing thin now. Sorry, Kai, you ever go?
That's right, mate. No, I was just gonna. No, I think I agree with what everyone says before. I think that I agree with what you said, Merv, about how I definitely agree that I think he needs to Rowett needs to change his tactics. I don't know. I feel like we played 4-2-3. I think we changed it up to 4-2-3-1 yesterday for a little bit. Obviously, Malone was taken off, like Murray Wallace went to left back. I didn't think we improved that much after that either. I don't know what you thought, Mickey, but I didn't think the system change worked then either. In fairness to Rowett, he did bring on 3 attackers, and he did roll the dice quite early on. So, maybe it was just last night that both teams cancelled each other out, because Preston, what Rowett said after the match was that Preston came here for a point, and they were happy with that. I didn't think either team deserved to win it, and I think probably a draw was a fair result. But the fact that we couldn't break Preston down maybe shows that we're lacking. We're definitely lacking that that maybe attacking midfielder that hopefully Luke Fridman will bring us.
Yeah, I think Cole last night on the commentary, he turned around and said, what we need to do in this game is as soon as we kick off, is take it to them, run at them, and we didn't do that. And the problem is, as soon as we don't do that, then that gives them chance. I mean, they were following down deep, they were shutting off everything and trying to run through them. We were light in the midfield. We should have just, as soon as we come out second half, we should have just changed the play right up. Should have brought Jed, should have brought, Bury on, should have brought some pace. I mean, again, Mahoney allegedly is out of favour as well. Why are we keeping him? Do you know what I mean? And there's some people on Twitter going, oh, well, if we're paying his wages, what do you want to do? Why should we? Fuck him. If he's not playing how you want him to play, don't put him in the team. Put someone else in. where are all these youngsters? I mean, don't get me wrong, the Sutton boy, keep him at Sutton. He's not ready yet for the Championship, and I think if you bring him in too early, you're going to destroy him. Just let him play in there. Maybe next season, bring him up to a League One club, or if Sutton do well or whatever, just slowly bring him in. But Lovelace has played. Bring Lovelace in. Bring some pace into these teams and players who actually want to play for the badge and have a go, and just go for it. When he's played 4-4-2 a few times, the team are behind. The team start doing well. The fans start getting on the team. And everyone works as a unity. Go back to a point what you said a little while ago, Merv. I agree with you. I think this is a CV exercise for him. If he walks away at the end of the season and he can walk away and say, I was at charge at Millwall, kept him in the Championship for 3 seasons, another Championship club will go, well, he's stabilised the team, we'll have him here. Regardless of what went on, because he's got that excuse. Well, he'll always have that excuse of, I inherited a team what the ex-manager picked, and it goes right back. Which I'll come to you with this point, because it's if Omar was here, this would be Omar's view on it. Is we have no system of deciding how we want to play. Every time a new manager comes in with a new structure, that's how we play. Do you believe really that at Millwall we probably need a director of football position who basically says, this is the way we're going to play. So the board choose, this is the style of play we're going to play. And basically, these are the players what fit into that criteria. And they're the players we're going. So it doesn't matter who's in charge. We don't necessarily look for a manager. We actually look for a coach. Or we look for, or we have a manager, but we'll have a coach, what does more of a coaching role and let them go. I mean, what's your views on a director of football and a style of Millwall play?
Personally, I think under Harris, I think it depends what level you're playing at. I think when we were in League One under Harris, I know for a fact he wanted every team, and this is something that Stevens and McCleary also did, like 20 odd years ago. And at every level, back then it was the academy level, now under 18s, under 23s. I think Harris decided to play a certain way right through the club at every level, so that it was easy to bring players in or to progress players through from the youth. I think that's great at League One level, but the gap now in the Championship is so vast in terms of the quality. Look at the sort of football Fulham play and Bournemouth play, and even sort of some like Blackburn who playing good football. You've got to really be a very, very good coach to sort of compete with that sort of thing, and it's, I think, too simplistic to go down that route perhaps. I just think we've got to be more positive. I mean, Rowett came in and his assessment of the club or the team was that we were a team looking to avoid relegation. He wanted to be a team looking at the top 6. It was great. It was a breath of fresh air. And at the time, up until the lockdown, the 3-0 win at Forest was a great example. We brought in, Mason Bennett, and he looked great. And we were positive, and we were, doing. And it seems we've come out of lockdown or come out of the sort of COVID sort of time, and suddenly it's all, just let's just not lose. And the Blackpool game being a classic example, his comments after the match was he was hoping to attack them with a bit of pace off the bench later on, but then when they took the lead, that sort of changed. But why not just attack teams with pace right from the right from the get-go, right from the first minute, and get on the front foot? Maybe that's not great away from home, but certainly at home, you want to be taking the initiative. And I think what we saw last night was almost like two teams playing like the away team in a way. That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Both of them were very, very cautious. Didn't want to concede a point. Didn't want to concede a goal, and were outplaying each other. And that's the problem with a degree with how he's playing. I do think modern football is a lot difficult to what it is. Maybe the players aren't necessarily keen for the international style of tactics. Maybe they want a 4-4-2 style attacking in their face sort of run. I mean, I don't know. Kai, any thoughts on that?
No, I think I don't know. It's a difficult one. I'd like to see, as formation wise, I thought yesterday 4-2-3-1 looked quite a good formation in terms of the the way we changed it up. We've tended to done quite well when we go 4-2-3-1. Even though I don't think that 5 at the back or 3 at the back is that hands down negative. I think it depends how you play it. It depends if you get your wing backs high and you get them attacking, you can cause overloads, and it can be quite attacking. It can be quite overlapping, and there's a big overload, and you obviously got more bodies full, more chance of scoring. So I just think we'd maybe play the 5 at the back in maybe potentially the wrong way. I think that's really I think that's why we look defensive. I think we don't exploit the areas that if we exploit it, we'd look a lot more attacking side.
I mean, we talk about Isaac Olafi at Sutton, and I know, I think it probably is a bit too soon for him. But then we also mentioned how Afobe. I think we've got a chance of signing Afobe permanently at the end of the season. I think Stoke have decided he's not wanted. But I think potentially Afobe and Olafi could be the dream partnership in a way. So you've got two quite contrasting players there. But again, as Kai rightly said, you need like an overload of possession and up front. You need to be. Any striker will tell you he'll need 8 to 10 chances per game to get a goal. And at the moment, we're getting 1 or 2 chances, if that. But the Olafi kid and with Afobe could be could be the answer to our goal scoring problems if they get the service. And you can imagine if we've got someone with pace, someone like Bury, reining the crosses in, and we're creating chances. When Afobe's on his own or when Bradshaw's on his own, he's easy to sort of smother and he's easy to handle. But when you've got someone like who's big and physical and quick like Olafi with Afobe or Bradshaw or even Bennett, then it's it opens up things, makes things more exciting. Whether Rowett is prepared to play that way, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, and I reckon that's probably a good part to end part 1, and then we'll come back with a chit chat with me and Kai. Couple of bits of news and stuff, but we'll do that. So look, thanks very much, Merv, for joining us tonight. We will get you back on. We're going to be doing a round table. We're going to be doing a round table shortly. And again, if there's anyone out there who fancies wants to look at trying to secure a place on the round table debate, what we're looking to plan in March, later in February, then just get in touch, give us a shout, and we've got a few places available, and it'll be good to get a good mixture of fans with an opinion, and obviously you don't mind being on screen and you don't mind being on audio. So look, if that's you and you feel like you want to be involved in a round table debate, it is going to be an open debate. We are big boys. We can have a proper debate about stuff. So if you do want to do that, get in touch. But look, we're going to end part 1 here, and we will be back straight after this. Thanks very much. See you in a minute. Welcome back then, part 2, the final part. Couple of bits on here, what we'll do, and then we'll end the show as such. But 2 things. There's a tour going on in March, which takes you around the Isle of Dogs. I think there's a Facebook page called Beyond the Blue with full details, and we do some details on our pages going forward with a link to it, where you can go for a tour around the Isle of Dogs. Me and I did it last year. Fantastic tour. It is a good few hours, but it is a great tour. Value for money. You get to see all the old grounds as such, where the stadiums were. You get a lot of history with it. The tour guides who do it are very, very knowledgeable. I did record something with them last year, which we'll probably put out maybe over the weekend, so you can have a listen to that and listen to the tour guide tell you what's what. And the other one is we received something this week from someone. If that was you who sent us something, please get in touch, because we'd like to say thank you and speak to you about it and just see whether or not there's something that you want us to talk about. Someone donated to the show, and we're much appreciated for that. So again, if that was you, then please do get in touch. Let us know if there's a certain bit you want to talk about, or whether or not you want to come on the show yourself. So it's much appreciated for that. And yeah, I mean, I think a couple of bits. Merv's always a good guest, and he'd be good on a round table, Kai. I mean, he has a few valid points there, doesn't he? That the team just doesn't seem positive at the minute.
No, I think he does. Yeah, I think I don't know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we went against West Brom on Saturday. I thought the last sort of 45 minutes second half. I thought we were different team to the first one. Anyway, then we go into the Preston game. We look like the old. We just like the first half of ourselves, probably a little bit, with a little bit less energy and a bit less creativity than the whole game yesterday. So, no, it's a difficult one. I think I'd like to see us just try and go a bit more attacking and just sometimes just say, right, we're just going to attack this team. I'm going to go for it, because if they attacked from the start and we lost 3-0, but we looked to create stuff, I'd have no complaints, because all I want to see is I just want to see a bit of attacking football, a bit of entertaining football, and if we still lost, then that's that you can't do much more.
No, I totally agree with you there. I think that's it, and I mean, yeah, a little bit of positivity, I think, will bring the fans on side, and everybody will keep on side. But it's like what we said before: as soon as you lose the fan base, you're fucked. There's no going back. Just ask Rowett, just ask Steve Lomas, just ask most of the team. Look at Neil, look at everyone. The manager who goes, the managers always end up losing the fan base, and it always ends in tears. I don't know, mate. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. But look, the good news is Omar will be back the next show. Unfortunately, he is working today. Let us know your views. If you're watching this on YouTube, recast, or you're listening to it as a podcast, you're walking the dog, or you're going for a run, or doing whatever you do, just let us know what you feel. Add a review, add a comment. Make sure you subscribe to it if you listen to it on a podcast. Little things like that actually help us out with regards to the charts, get us exposure and different angles, get more people listening to it, which obviously increases the level of debate we can have round. We read all the comments what are made, so all the people on YouTube, etc., many thanks for all your comments. We do read them. They are great, and we're glad that you like the show. We've been going a little while now, but again, all those little bits and pieces really help. You can follow us across social media. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We are on Twitter. And make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. And again, that gives us benefits, gets us picked up more on their algorithms and everything else. We're doing really well. So, all of you who are subscribing, thank you very much. Really do appreciate you supporting us in that way. And we just ask that you continue. And I suppose that pretty much brings us to an end for this week's show. No game on Saturday, which will be a bit weird, but no doubt we'll be back straight after the weekend with a show of some form or another, because obviously we've got Fulham on Tuesday, which is going to be a terrifying experience. But knowing Millwall in the way that we do, we'll probably go to Fulham and beat them, because I think that will probably sum our season up so far. And it's always good to look and end the show on a high note. So I've been Mickey Simpson. This has been That Millwall Podcast, and that guy sitting next to me, just over there, is Kai. So thanks very much for joining us, and thanks very much for being my co-host tonight, Kai.
No worries, Matt. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
No worries. That's it. See you again very shortly. Bye-bye.